Welcome to the 7th episode of the Mol België Season 12 Recaps from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Hobstone, and joining me as always is the Canadian who's been invited by many of the older ladies of Vernon to have a bath with them, Logan Saunders.
Good morning.
And the guy who just keeps struggling along despite trying to take long steps, David Bindley.
Good evening.
Good evening. You may have noticed the difference in the intros there because it is currently 7 o'clock in the morning for me. This is the earliest that I have recorded in years. It's a miracle I'm awake.
It's weird for me to be doing it in daytime hours.
I know.
You made me record at 5 a.m.
No, you made you record at 5 a.m. by deliberately booking accommodation that wasn't private.
Yeah.
Don't come to me with that bullshit, Saunders.
Where in the world is Logan Saunders anyway?
That is a good question.
No one's going to guess this one. Well, you guys know, but I mean, the listeners won't.
Prison in the Vatican again?
You're close, actually.
Go on, just tell everyone. Get on with it.
Liechtenstein.
As part of your tour of micronations.
Yep.
To which, when I told my brother, he went, why the fuck's he gone to Liechtenstein of all places?
Yeah.
It's actually a really beautiful place.
Oh, nobody's saying it's not beautiful. It's not Andorra.
There's just no people there.
Mm.
Yeah, they had their big national bike race the day that I got here, so there were a lot of people in the main pedestrian area, and I thought, oh, this is actually quite a busy place. And then the day after, yesterday, I was walking through the same area, and I walked through it for about 10 minutes at 8 o'clock at night, and I saw 9 people total. Every restaurant was either closed or completely empty.
Ah, fun.
Yeah. You say big national bike race. How many minutes did it take them to go around the whole country?
Well, they include parts of Switzerland in the race.
So that makes sense.
Yes.
I'm genuinely intrigued as to whether the tour around Liechtenstein was actually longer than the bike race that I was nearly impacted by on Sunday, which is 100 miles around Greater Manchester. I bet there's not much in it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that your race may have been a bit longer.
Didn't you have some sort of flight delay last week as well?
Oh yes, in St. John's. Because it was a midnight flight to get to London from St. John's. And it's like 2 hours after the last flight leaves St. John's for the night because they don't do that many flights out of the airport. And their St. John's to London route is brand new. It's only a few weeks old, I think. So we all check in and we find out, there's about an hour delay because the crew arrived on a flight from Toronto was delayed. So we had to wait for that crew to show up. And then when we boarded the plane, we needed the de-icer. But the one person, I guess, at St. John's Airport responsible for de-icing had already gone home for the night. So they had to call him and come back to the airport. And then they also found out they needed more fuel to get across the ocean. So then the refueler had gone home for the night. So then they had to call him to come back. So after all of that, it was a little over a 2-hour delay because they didn't call the de-icer and the refueler at the same time. They didn't catch on to those errors until after the delayed crew came. And then after the de-icer came, they realized, so we need more fuel. So it's just this domino effect of delays. And that's St. John's in a nutshell.
On a more positive note, though, you did get your beloved Pepsi Mango.
Yes, I did. Yeah, got the Pepsi Mango. That I pretty much went straight for the Pepsi Mango the second I got into Gatwick.
As I said to you, when I was half thinking of maybe driving to York and getting the York to Rotterdam ferry this year instead of flying over, I was going to bring you a crate of Pepsi Mango in my boot if I did that, just to satisfy your cravings.
Yeah, just chug it all in 2 days in Antwerp.
Have you had any in Liechtenstein yet?
No, in Switzerland and Liechtenstein, they don't have a variety of Pepsi and Coca-Cola flavors anywhere.
Oh,
it's like just basic Coca-Cola, Fanta Orange. Sometimes there'll be a different Fanta flavor, and that's about it.
Disappointing.
I'm not sure how you'll get on in Belgium with that, to be honest.
They have more. I remember they've had more variety than what I've seen here. Like the only Pepsi I've been able to find is Pepsi Max or Pepsi Zero. That's about it.
How's your week been anyway, Bindles?
Can't complain.
Good. Excellent. Yeah. Let's move on then.
Just sort of counting down to a holiday.
Yeah, it's
trying to get through the last
2 weeks
few days
away now,
of
is it?
Next week.
Oh, yes. So you'll be with us for the finale next week and then not for the reunion.
Yeah.
But maybe for the reveal. Who knows?
Maybe. Who knows?
And at least in my world, it's weird to be talking about house purchase that isn't mine, but Mum and Dad are also planning on moving.
Oh,
And they're away at the moment. They went away on Thursday just for a week, so I'll be back by the time that this comes out. But I was down there delivering some Costco stuff, and they've got a camera, as most houses do around there, because, shithole area, which is obviously nicknamed the Ludocam for
oh, of course.
the main resident of the camera. And they get a ping about half an hour after I left their house last Thursday. And the guy who's buying the house is looking to get a conservatory put in the garden. And he told the conservatory people they could just go into the back garden and measure up.
That's a no-no.
So we just see these randomers fiddling with my mum and dad's back gate, and obviously fear the worst.
So the police were summoned?
The police were not summoned because we only spotted this after they'd already gone, but my mum and dad were not best pleased.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a great source of amusement. I've not seen the absolute boy since, but I'm just going to assume that he's still a perfect specimen because he always is. Also, something that I'd completely forgotten about that we did talk about earlier in the year was the Cruise of Deception, which I don't know how much Saunders is aware of this, but...
we did talk about it.
We did talk about it, but all of these civilian-led teams now no longer exist.
Huh.
They've merged them all into 7 teams led by the reality TV people.
Successful.
Yeah. This idea is not going to work.
No.
I'll put it out there plainly. It's not going to work.
Oh, I can't. There's going to be some crazy stories from that Cruise of Deception.
Yeah, I think this may be a one-off thing, because as I said in February when we were talking about it, it is a normal cruise as well. It's the Oasis of the Seas. There's about 6,000 people on board. Not all of those people are going to be on the quote-unquote Cruise of Deception. There's going to be a lot of pissed off people on that cruise, I suspect.
Yeah. I think we have to start calling it the Fire and Iceberg Festival.
I was waiting for a Fire Festival joke, to be honest. On a more podcasty note, on Bingo, there was a bit of a controversial ruling last week, shall we say?
Yeah, I was quite tired when I did the marking and missed one, which may have missed out on giving Fuzzy a bingo that she did get. But it gave me an excuse to make it that's not a knife, this is a knife joke. So who's to say what the problem is?
Yeah, the ruling did end up going to VAR, in other words, vexatious Australian referee.
Yeah.
And it was granted eventually. It's now 7 to Fuzzy and 8 to us, which means it's a little bit closer than we would like it to be at this point.
Yeah.
There is also a PC Yankers gamble coming this week. I did forget to mention
Ooh.
last week that there was a PC Yankers gamble that I did at the last second, which we will get into at the end of this episode. But get your thinking cap on, Fuzzy, because you've got to tell us whether you're taking the PC Yankers gamble for the finale board by Sunday, when the finale is, for reasons that will become apparent.
Interesting.
Also, happy Groundhog Day to Daniel Peak.
Yeah, happy Groundhog Day, Daniel Peak.
Yeah.
I know he loves it when we say it. I did get a very fun message off him when he finally realised that I'd changed his suspect list name to Happy Groundhog Day Daniel Peak this week. A joke that was, 7 weeks later that I actually did it, but it's totally worth it.
All he has to do to stop this joke is just put his milk and cookies out for Bill Murray in the morning.
Exactly.
And then see if the milk and cookies are still there.
Yeah. And little podcast admin point, as I always do at this time in the season, now that we know who the finalists are, if you've got any questions for any of the finalists or Jill, then hit us up on social media before Sunday, and Saunders and I will try and ask as many as we can.
I assume they have to be G-rated.
I mean, Mikhail Mons is there. I think we can push the rating, maybe.
Yeah.
Please don't make us ask too many testicle-related questions. That is all I will say.
Time for the testicle and execution of them all.
I will say any offensive questions will be spoken by Logan Saunders.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Whether they were written by the audience or not.
That's right. He's just gonna get a Belgian AI to do it.
Yeah. And there is one final thing before we actually get into the episode, and it goes back to last Friday, because obviously this episode, as always, the episodes come out 9 p.m. UK time on a Thursday. And I was coming back from my walk on Friday afternoon, and I have my headphones on, and they're posh headphones, must be nice. And I get a notification saying, one new notification from Gmail. Email title, DM12 from Gilles da Costa.
Ooh.
And my first reaction when I was getting stuff out of the freezer in my garage was, ah, fuck. This is early in the season to get an email off Gilles. This cannot be good.
And?
Well, I presume you've not had an email, Saunders, because you would have
No.
mentioned it.
No, I did not get...
I haven't had one either.
Yeah, he doesn't have your email yet, Bindles.
Well, that's true.
Mainly because of the restraining order. But he said the following. Hi, Michael. I'm way behind on the podcast. And that was the only line that my headphones read out. And I'm like, oh, God, he's been listening. Shit. Fuck. Awesome. This is going to go badly. Hi, Michael. I'm way behind on all the podcasts, so I've only heard bits and pieces. But somehow you seem to have achieved the impossible, which is to make Papa Bear palatable. Well, almost. I shall not further comment on any nicknames, but I will say this. I still control who gets in on May the 12th and who doesn't. The parking lot is really great, though. Thanks for still podcasting about us. Don't miss episode 7, as it's one of my favourites. See you next week. Safe travels. Hi, Gilles.
How has he broken all three of us at the moment?
Yeah. I said this to Bindles before we started recording. All I read when the notification came through was, hi, Michael, I'm way behind on all the podcasts. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not going to go well. He's been listening already. We joked weeks ago that the reason that we know he hasn't listened is because I've not had an email called DM12 yet from him. And then when that came through, I'm like, oh, shit in hell. So got everything out that I was getting from the garage. I literally sat down to read this because I'm like, oh God, this is not going to end well. And then I read it and I was just in my kitchen laughing my head off. I was so wired on Friday evening because I just couldn't stop laughing at the email that Gilles sent. It really, really, really tickled me.
And just in case he's wondering, all of the bad nicknames were Michael's idea.
Yeah, I'll take credit because he's going to see me in, 5 days at this point.
I was just thinking of this yesterday, but with the final 3, we have to, whenever we ask them about Gilles, we have to say, so what do you think about Papa Bear, Gilles Lacoste, and just keep reaffirming the Papa Bear nickname.
Yeah. So I replied to him saying, all capitals, ha 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 ha. They only get sillier. This week's ones were particularly ridiculous, but I'm sure we'll discuss that from the parking lot next Sunday. See you soon.
I just love the idea that he's going to get you to go all the way to Belgium and just leave you in the parking lot.
Yeah, we're going to be coming to you live from the Decathlon parking lot.
Yeah,
at Kinopolis on Sunday.
So close yet so far.
I honestly cannot wait for him to walk in the room and just give us an absolute death stare. But I love the idea that maybe Gilles hasn't been listening himself, but someone from production's been listening every week and just going to him, you do realise they're persisting with this nickname joke? And he's like, oh, what, Papa Bear? And they're just like, no, not Papa Bear. There were 25 last week. He's like, fuck's sake, I'm going to have to email now. I didn't want to do this until after the finale, but I'm going to have to email now.
Which one do you think was the nickname he hated most?
Oh, believe me, we will ask that question. I think maybe SpongeBob SquarePants pushed him over the edge, because that was the one that pushed me over the edge. They were broadly sensible until we got to SpongeBob, I think.
So this episode.
Yeah, I suppose we should talk about this episode, really.
Yeah.
So previously, the final 5 visited every single Italian town, as Senna and Stephanie rested in peace, while the other 3 learned how to knife fight. A relaxing day at the spa turned nightmarish for Senna as his molebook was burned, but it was Stephanie whose chances at winning, as well as her molebook, went up in flames, as she was the next to be sent home. And Gilles opens by talking to the contestants and seeing how they're feeling individually on day 16 in Papalermo.
I said Papa Bearmo.
Yeah, I said Papalermo on the podcast last week, and I'm just kind of sticking with it at this point.
Mm.
But yeah, I quite like Papa Bearmo as well. I'm sure he'll appreciate that one. They've all not seen each other for a day, and they're in separate cars, and Gilles says he's bringing a special guest to listen to all their stories, and we see that it's Pinocchio.
Jill knows he's not real, right?
What are you talking about? He's a real boy.
I also like that Gilles did like the comment that I put on his Instagram post of him and Pinocchio calling him Geppetto. I think that one might get me some words on Sunday.
Yeah, and I for one can't wait.
All because I can't believe this all happened just because they threw out the Papa Bear nickname like 5 years ago.
Yeah, he notoriously hates Papa Bear as a name, and then it's just escalated. I genuinely am not sure whether we can get away with another season of nicknames next year. I think he might stab us.
Well, he knows how to knife fight now.
Exactly, that's why I'm scared of him.
Yeah. So they just need to do a season in Switzerland, and then you won't be able to get the knife out of the thing in time.
And the episode title is I'm a Real Boy, said by Bernard. And it's day 15 in Damusi, and the final four are heading to breakfast. And Senna finds a lilac book waiting for him, and they also find a mobile phone. And he needs to start again with information after it burned last time. He wants to transcribe someone else's book, as long as it isn't Mikhail's.
First note in his new book, Mikhail is a snorer. Miss Slippy's car is green. Billy likes to drink soda.
Second note in his book, Mikhail is the bowl. Note down everything he's done. And their chat is interrupted by Gilles ringing. It's a beautiful day and they're heading to Palermo. And he wants 2 candidates with a flair for drama and 2 who want to explore the world.
I knew exactly who was going to be picked for drama right away. I said Charlotte McHale will be in the drama group. But no hesitation there. And then sure enough, that's exactly what happened.
I mean, Charlotte knew that she was going to be picked for drama.
Oh, yeah.
She was like, well, I can't get away with not being in drama, can I? Yeah, Charlotte's obviously drama, and Mikhail goes with her, leaving Bernard and Senna to explore the world. Which would you guys have picked, out of interest?
Explore the world? As I podcast from Liechtenstein?
Yeah, I suppose. I suppose you can get away with that this week.
I think I would have picked drama, but I would have been better at Explore the World.
Well, you would have struggled to keep all the money in the pot with your little legs, as we've previously discussed.
But who says I have to take steps? You can go other ways. I've seen Taskmaster. I know how this works.
You could be inspired by Australian comedian Chris Lilly and just roll everywhere.
I was just thinking they could have just pushed somebody on crutches and just borrow their crutches.
Yeah, it still loses some money though, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, you're saving half as many steps.
Just on the note of the $6,000 challenge, how do you feel about this challenge being completely unwinnable over the maximum?
Oh yeah, because for deciding how much money it can potentially be earned, yeah, I guess it throws a wrench into determining what the highest possible value is for the season.
Yeah.
Maybe, I guess you could settle on 4,000 as a realistic maximum, or just hope and pray that 2 people are going to lend you their wheelchairs for the duration of the challenge.
They mentioned it's about 3Ks to the puppet theatre, so you'd assume maybe 3Ks, 3,000 steps. It gets you down to 3,000 euros, which is basically the same amount as the other group got. So I would say probably 6 in total.
Yeah. Because the other thing that I was thinking about after I rewatched this episode last night is the number 6 is appearing a lot this season. And I don't know whether it's actually a clue, but there have been so many challenges this season where the maximum prize has been divisible by 6. And I don't know why.
Could be something to do with the doublers. Because the doublers were hexagonal as well.
Yeah. This is what I mean. I feel like 6 might be a hint of some description, but I don't know what to.
Yeah.
Did we get a Wilhelm scream this episode?
I didn't spot it, but also we are recording this mega early in the week comparatively, and people haven't watched the episode yet. So I'm sure there was one. I just don't know where it was.
Yeah, I didn't catch on to a Wilhelm scream. I'm thinking maybe it would have been during mountain biking or in the bathtub.
I didn't spot it, but I haven't spotted any of the other ones either, so...
Yeah, last week's one was a particularly subtle one that even I didn't spot, so I'm sure there was one, I just don't know what it was. I'm sure we can talk about it next week.
Was that Belgian rap music that we heard, or Italian rap music when Bernard and Senna are walking to the challenge?
I think Italian.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't imagine there's much Flemish rap music that is about Italian cities, or Sicilian cities to be more precise. So the boys meet Gilles, and he explains that the others will be learning the art of puppetry, but they're missing one crucial puppet. All they have to do is get it from the Puppet Museum and deliver it within 2 hours. However, they need to be cautious, as each step they take costs €1 from the potential 6,000 euros that they can earn for their side of the challenge. They will need to get creative and begin by taking big strides.
That's the other note I had too. When Sen and Bernard are walking up, all the rap music is playing in the background. They looked like high school kids who listened to too much Beastie Boys, so that amused me.
It really amused me. The first shot that we see of them taking the big strides is just really pissing off the Italian drivers by walking across the pedestrian crossing slowly. As has been previously mentioned this season, Italians have a bit of a stereotype for being aggressive drivers at the best of times. This is only wonderful. And the route that they must take is shown by Roman soldier stickers on the wall, and it must also remain legal. And the only reason that Gilles points that out is because then Senna immediately jokes about stealing a scooter.
It was like a Ron Howard moment from Arrested Development.
He might have to change his answer to larger than a lemon.
Yeah. That's a big step up from a loaf of bread.
Also, given that the Puppet Challenge was very Roman themed in terms of the stickers, I for one can't believe they didn't mention that Sicily was the Roman Empire's first colony.
Huh.
I was looking this up last week because obviously we do have some Rome coding in the second challenge as well with Bernard's little trip. But yeah, I'm not sure why the Roman soldier stickers were on the wall, why it was Roman themed, but it does seem a bit odd that they've not actually mentioned that Sicily was Rome's first colony.
Yeah. I just figured it was something to do with how all the puppets were Roman themed.
Yeah.
Like
Oh
with the
yeah, they
armor
were,
and
weren't they?
everything.
Yeah, good point.
So that office chair didn't work.
No, it did not.
Who'd have thought that rolling an office chair on cobbles wouldn't have worked?
I mean, surely the correct answer is to just slide your feet across the ground.
Yeah. I don't know. I quite like the piggyback idea, actually.
Yeah.
Or just roll on the ground through the streets of Sicily.
Well, that's what I mean. Maybe they were told that they weren't allowed to roll.
That would have been really painful, though.
It would have really pissed off the Italian drivers.
Yeah. Any fans of We Can Be Heroes would have just rolled on their sides. That's all I'm saying. So Charlotte and Michael arrive at the Teatro Mancuso, where they will be putting on a performance. And they will be judged on 6 categories, each of them worth 500 euros for the pot. The first 3 are to lower a puppet's visor, draw the sword, and cut another puppet in 2 before putting the sword back in place.
I wish that when Senna and Bernard were using the office chair, that there would have been some guy, like 30 seconds later, just run out of the building and say, "Hey, what are you doing with my office chair, you son of a bitch?"
I'm more surprised that they gambled on the office chair, given that it looks very abandoned and probably riddled with diseases.
But it would have been funny if it pans over to a desk and a computer and where the guy is working outside.
It's a standing desk, it's better for you now. And they must pick which of the 2 of them is best to perform these 3 tasks, and it's fair to say, Michael is much better at it than Charlotte is.
Yeah. Michael sort of had the talent of somebody who's practiced that a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Until he gets to the performance.
Yeah, if he's the mole, he definitely practiced this at home. And they also don't tell him that he hasn't broken Charlotte's puppet, it just needs to be pulled apart at the right time. But if you're practicing and then a puppet falls in half, you go, ah, shit, have I done something that I shouldn't have done here?
Did I do that? Yeah, it's like the puppet was more like Dry Bones from Super Mario Brothers. The way it just crumbled and slumped to the ground, I was wanting to wait 10 seconds to see if it would just magically piece itself back together.
And then start bothering you again.
And then start walking, yeah. I'm a real Dry Bones.
And Charlotte gets the pity task, which is to try and blow a conch, which she still can't do.
There's a lot we can read into that.
Yeah. Maybe they should have given her an icy pole.
I have this week been trying to explain to some friends who don't watch Mole why this season's been so fun, and the 2 screenshots that I used were obviously Michael stroking the produce and Michael deep throating an ice pop. There is no better way to describe this season, I don't think.
No. This fucking show.
Bernard gives Senna a piggyback to cut down on their steps, and they get to the Puppet Museum with 4,527 euros still on their clock.
I just love Bernard being like Senna offering to switch, and Bernard being like, "Yes, I'm not carrying your fucking ass all over Sicily."
I'm not doing this for 3k.
Yeah.
And they must answer questions on a flowchart to find the correct one of over 5,000 puppets in the museum that they then need to bring to the teatro. Answering the questions correctly will lead to the correct hall where it is hidden. I had no idea on this first question.
No,
Nope.
I think it's a Belgian puppet.
I would presume so. This was also one of the questions on the suspicions thing on the official website, was which one was the right one, I think. And I had no idea when I did it.
Pretty much how Senna and Bernard played these questions is the same way I would have answered them too.
I mean, the Toy Story one is very obvious. The Barbie one is such a wonderful trick because it requires you to actually read the question properly.
Yeah. And I think the Eurovision one's a bit like that as well, because the question was like, who wrote it? But then the wrong answer is the person who sang it.
Yeah. So they head to the Buka Hall, where hopefully the label with Enzo Mancuno's name awaits. However, it does not. And their next try is Sipario, which is also incorrect, followed by Ridotto, before they spot the lift and the correct room, which is Palci. The fifth task for the puppeteers is to hang 9 puppets up in 30 seconds between them, and then raise the curtains back up. And the sixth one is a mystery, but it relates to the puppet that still has yet to arrive.
The VIP, very important puppet.
That's quite good for you, Saunders. And the 6 actions must be done at the right time in the show, and the maestro will be reading the story in Italian, and they must respond to the right keywords. Senna and Bernard eventually find the right puppet, which is Pinocchio, and they leave the Puppet Museum with €3,962 on the clock.
They noticed the elevator way too late.
Yes, they did.
That was suspicious.
They only did 600 steps, though. It's not as bad as I actually thought it was going to be. It's not the next one where they just burn all of their steps.
Yeah.
And they find the next mini challenge, which is earning tools by throwing dice. If they throw 4 sixes of these 6, then they get a skateboard. 5 sixes are a wheelchair, and 6 sixes are 2 electric scooters. And each throw costs them 100 steps, and therefore €100. They get 3 sixes in 2 throws, 5 in 7, and then it costs them another €700 before they get the scooters, dropping them to €1,951.
They should have settled for the wheelchairs.
Where would you have stopped in this?
I mean, they're right with skateboard being absolutely impossible, plus you still have to use 1 step every time you do it. I don't think you go over 1,000.
Yeah.
I think if you get 5 in 7 as they do, you have another couple of goes, and then you go, nah, we're never going to get this.
But it could be on the next throw. Or the next one, just one more. But yeah, I would not have stopped at the skateboard. I would be dead if I had to ride around Sicily on a skateboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their final stop is a carriage stop, and they get a free ride in a horse-drawn carriage to their destination. But to find the destination, they need to head to the roof of the cathedral. When they get there, they find out they need to count the steps, and in counting the right steps, they will get an address. And they decide to send Senna back down, and he shouts the correct answer from the piazza, which he says is 116.
118?
116, 116.
Oh, 116. I misheard you.
I think they got the right strategy there.
I mean, the right strategy was to count it on the way up.
Well, aside from that.
Aside from telepathy, that was the best way to go.
And, probably have Bernard check it on the way down. They got lucky in the fact that Senna was right.
That's true. He could have recounted on the way down and then confirm on the address.
Yeah. Bernard not counting it on the way down was inherently suspicious. And let me be clear, Bernard is not the mole in my book.
Yeah, but if Bernard counts it on the way down and then misses it and they get a different answer, then one of them's going to go back up and back down, and then they miss out.
That's another 232 steps.
He trusts Senna, which is an interesting choice, given that, I know who we all suspect. So they got €824 on the clock, and because this isn't a show that does weird numbers in the pots, they round it down to 820.
Good for them.
Why not round it up to 830?
Because it's nearer 820 than it is 830.
Because you don't get €3 on this show, Logan.
It's €6. There are €2 difference.
And the audience enters the theatre, as does Gilles, and we get a wonderful close-up of a horse shitting. Delightful.
Yeah.
And they have 3 minutes left on the clock. And they enter with Pinocchio before the show starts and take their seats for a total of €820, of officially 6,000 for the challenge. The show begins and the maestro says that it is the story of the mole, and Mikhail has to lower the visor on the word hidden, and interestingly, despite being able to do it every single time in the practice, he is not able to do it in the performance.
What a coincidence.
And Charlotte plays the group pot, and Mikhail must cut it in two, and that passes. However, not before Senna winces at a puppet being destroyed.
A lot of people put hard work into making that puppet.
Yeah.
The craftsmanship. Oh, the craftsmanship.
Let's be honest, knowing this show as we do, who do you think is getting a puppet at the reunion? Because one of them must.
Maybe Charlotte?
There is no way that they're not going to bring a puppet back for someone, I suspect. I really think that, especially knowing what we know about like the cuckoo clocks and stuff, it's very on brand for someone to be presented with a puppet, I think.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that we got, in the story, we got the line, I am the mole, I keep my true face hidden, right as Mikhail is performing with his face out of sight of the audience.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that Mikhail spent the entire challenge playing the mole.
Yeah.
It was not lost on me that Mikhail managed to get himself in a position where he was literally acting as the mole in that challenge.
Well, he's either the mole or Neil Patrick Harris. I love that Logan doesn't know what that is.
What's a Neil Patrick Harris?
So, have you heard of Doctor Who?
I have heard of Doctor Who, yes.
Okay. So they did an episode last year where basically Neil Patrick Harris was like this big villain who sort of comes back every so often.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, I know. But like the way they did it was they sort of like they did a big exposition scene through the medium of a marionette puppet show, and that's what this kind of reminded me of. So I guess now we have to call him Stooky Gilles.
O'Neill Papa Patrick Barris.
I like both of those. But yeah, conveniently New Who comes back on Disney Plus, I think, the day after this episode comes out.
Yeah, interesting.
I mean, it's still going to be terrible. I gave up on New Who probably, 6 years ago at this point, but...
Yeah. Like, I gave up a while back, probably when Capaldi was still there. And I sort of watched last year's episodes because they were, like, special anniversary episodes and all that sort of stuff. I'm sort of umming and ahhing about whether to go and watch the new ones, but I don't have a lot of time at the moment. Like, I'll probably catch up eventually, but...
Bernard, did he already forget that Stephanie was a contestant on this season? He could not decode who Stefan was. He's like, Stefan? Who the hell was Stefan? Or I think the narrator said Stefania, but he's like, Stefania? Stefan? Steph? Nope. Simpson? Nope. Doesn't ring a bell.
I mean, this puppet had everything.
And I suppose Stefania's another Eurovision thing as well.
Yeah. But what's the Eurovision connection other than the fact it happens on Eurovision weekend?
No idea. But, like, it's happening too much for it to be a coincidence.
Yeah. I genuinely don't know whether the sixth thing is going to actually be a clue, but there's been a lot of divisible by six this season.
Yeah.
It just made me inherently suspicious. So the third action is to return the sword to the sheath, and again, Mikhail isn't able to resheath it. The puppet falls over when he tries. The interval begins and they manage to rehang the puppets in about 20 seconds. And then Charlotte successfully plays the conch before all the eliminated players get a shout out like it's me doing a finale intro. And it takes Senna and Bernard 2 puppets before they realise that it's about the eliminated players. The final hurdle before the finale is a challenge symbolised by a doll, and then Pinocchio appears, for a total of €2,000 of 3,000 for this side of the challenge. Gilles then returns and congratulates them on their near €3,000 gain. He sends them away and tells them the cars are waiting, one for each of them. And they can pick which, but there will be consequences.
At least they're all BMWs.
Yeah.
Also not lost on me that Mikhail is the one to actually pick the car that they drive around in.
I caught that with the BMW license plate.
Yep. One BMW, as I pointed out a couple of weeks ago, is the car that they definitely have been driving.
Belgian Mol. I don't know what the W would stand for.
So the cards contain an envelope. What will happen in the next 24 hours is a mystery. They will be away for the day and must all return to tell their stories. They will document their days with selfie cameras.
Who's ready to get social?
I hear that in these 24 hours that Bernard pretended to be an Elvis Presley impersonator in Las Vegas.
I'm not aware of what that is a reference to.
No,
I don't think that's ever happened on Mol Saunders. You being silly.
no,
All right. Oh, that'd be really far away from Sicily too. I don't know what the hell
Yeah.
I was thinking.
no, I don't know.
In order, which of these would you rather have done?
Oh, they all.
I mean, we know what Saunders' top one's going to be, so let's just scrub the bathing with Bernard's mum from the list.
Cycling down Mount Etna would be the first choice. Going to Rome and then meeting some soccer player I've never heard of, and then pretending to care who they are, and then swimming.
Well, it wasn't swimming; it was having a beer on the beach. But
Yeah,
swings and roundabouts.
yeah.
I would choose the exact same order.
Yeah, I mean, you would have been absolutely fucked if you'd had to mountain bike down Mount Etna.
Well, I would learn how to. This is in an alternate universe where they teach me how to mountain bike first.
You'd only have 24 hours.
Well, I'll nail it down about 5.
They're not going to send you down an active volcano when you can't ride a bike.
Yeah. The producers of this show are stark raving mad, but they're not that stark raving mad.
Yeah, they do have health and safety occasionally.
Well, I'll just run down Mount Etna. Or give me a bubble sphere, and I just tumble my way down.
Oh, please, next time you go to Sicily, could you get Zorb down Mount Etna? That would be a delight. We'll add that to the list as well as you jumping off the Corinth Canal Bridge, with or without a harness. One thing I was thinking about with the whole fact that they basically had to vlog their days as well is it actually plays into something that we were talking about on the Discord, because someone's been watching Czechia on the Discord, and it reminded me of the fact that Josh got himself international fame, because obviously Josh is the best character in Czechia. I don't think anyone would.
Oh, obviously.
Certainly isn't Charlotte. But
No.
after the season of Vidum, Josh's band were meant to play the Dutch Grand Prix, and
Yeah.
the organisers hit them up, and this is obviously a year after COVID, and nobody had been able to play any gigs. And he asked about payment, and they went, "No, we're not going to pay you. Do it for exposure." And he's like, "Well, we've not worked for a year. You really expect us to work for free? We have families to feed." Because obviously, do it for exposure means we're not going to pay you. But he made international news from that, which was hilarious.
We might be chef special, but we still got to pay for food.
Exactly. So Gilles then awaits them in a parking garage, just like he's going to be awaiting us on day 16. And it is beautifully shot. Obviously, he's going to be the banner this week. And Pinocchio is sat in a chair next to him. Each of them will tell their stories of the last 24 hours, and some of them may not be telling the truth. The other 3 will guess if it's a truth or a lie, and if they're correct, they get €1,000 for the pot. If they're incorrect, the storyteller gets 2 Passfragen for the penultimate test. In the cars, each of them get their adventure, and whether it is truth or lie. If it's a truth, they go and do it. If it's a lie, they get 24 hours to research. And before they begin, Jill asks each of them if they are the mole, and Pinocchio indicates that one of them has already lied.
Would have been awkward if they just said yes to all of them, and then they had to try and, make Pinocchio's nose go 3 times as long as that.
Yeah. So Michael is first up. He says he's going to swim to the Italian mainland. The shortest distance is in Messina, which is 3 kilometers from the mainland, and also somewhere I have been. Messina is also Sicily's second city, I believe.
Mm.
And it's where all the cruise ships stop, which is why I've been there. And the others have 5 minutes to interrogate, and he claims that it takes 90 minutes or so to swim it. He didn't succeed, and he was pulled out due to the current. Did you guys think he was telling the truth?
Nope.
No.
I wrote down, I think this was a lie. Just his story. And when he said an organization told him to get out, named Gianluca and Luna, I'm thinking, that does not make sense. Therefore, you are a liar, Mikhail.
Yeah.
You are lying to me.
The time runs out. Senna is the only one who thinks it's a lie, and Charlotte Bernard do not.
Gullible.
They were wrong to, as he was lying, and he earns 2 Passwagen. And on his selfie video, he calls himself Mikey Mo, which is obviously Mikhail Mons, but also could be Michael Mole.
I was thinking with Mikey Mo, that sounds like a failed member of Jersey Shore. A very, very failed member of Jersey Shore. This is Mikey Mo. I'm here on the beach in Sicily.
It sounds like something people would have said in the mid 2000s for a very, very specific type of metrosexual.
Also, the people on Jersey Shore are entirely the sort of people who claim that they're full Italian when they're like a quarter Italian at best.
Yeah. I'm drinking an Italian beer. That makes me Italian.
It's like the people who claim any sort of Irish heritage for St. Patrick's Day and then just use it as an excuse for quote-unquote shenanigans, as I saw when I was in America a couple of years ago.
I once dated somebody named Messina.
Shenanigans are the best kind of nanigans.
So Charlotte is second to talk, and her adventure is to mountain bike down Mount Etna. We see that she actually did do it, and that is a really fun thing to do.
Mm.
Yeah, she was very clearly telling the truth.
And Senna again thinks that she's lying, but Mikhail and Bernard say truth, and they earn 1,000 euros for the pot. And Mikhail and Senna are both very jealous that she got to do that.
Yeah, Mikhail's beer on the beach isn't looking as impressive.
Neither is the bath.
Oh, we will come to the bath.
Well, as long as you don't come in the bath.
That's why he was wearing swimwear. So Bernard's story is that he went to Rome to play football with Romelu Lukaku, the top scorer of the Belgian football team.
Who I have definitely heard of before.
I have. He played in Manchester. I know who he is. I knew who he is.
Oh, so they're pandering to you with this.
Yeah, they pretty much are pandering to me. I believe he used to play for one of the Manchester teams. Yeah, Manchester United he played from 2017 to 2019.
If I was Bernard and then Joe said the guy's name, I'd be like, "Oh, Romelu Lukaku? No, Lukaku. Oh, I was hoping it would be Lukaku."
We've been over this. The Mario Challenge was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Come on, Saunders. Keep up.
I just noticed that they made him go to Rome when the guy's name is Romelu.
Well, it also helps that, he does play there for AS Roma now.
Yeah.
Is that why they got him? Is just because he had Rome in his name?
I think those are the 3 tribes on the next Survivor season: Rome, Lulu, and Kaku.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. And Kaku also describes most of the recent seasons of Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Lulu was an actual tribe name.
Yeah, Lulu was one of the fabled terrible tribes, I believe.
Yeah, last season from Survivor 45. Yeah, Lulu was an actual tribe name. And also an Amazing Race contestant.
That was the one with our mutual friend Brandon Donlan on, I believe.
Yes, Brandon Donlan was on the tribe Lulu.
And now he's a Luluser.
Oh, he was a loser after about the second episode, I believe. He flamed out. So Bernard went on the sleeper train on the boat, and he's not changed since the day before, but he did have time for a haircut, as he couldn't meet Romelu Lukaku with bushy hair. And he brought them souvenirs from the Colosseum and got Senna a signed football shirt.
I think my favourite part of this one is, he obviously had this really cool experience. Got to see all of Rome and everything, and then they got stuck on, so how did you even get to Rome for an unreasonably long amount of time?
Do you know what my favourite bit of it is? The fact that Bernard keeps trying to talk to him about the television programme de Mol, and he has never seen it. Guys he played with have, and we're talking about it, and he even admits that he just tuned out during that chat. He just didn't care. Oh yeah, I'll definitely catch up on it. No, you won't, mate. We all know you won't.
Yeah.
I'll binge it when I'm doing laundry one day.
I mean, it's nice that he feels like he needs to tell Bernard that he will watch the season, but we all know he won't.
Or Romelu is just like, "Oh yeah, the Mall. I think I've heard of it. That's where you're all stranded on an island, right?"
Yeah, that's the one.
Expedition Mole.
I mean, if he was watching Italian Survivor, he would genuinely see maybe current MasterChef US judge. He definitely used to be Joe Bastianich is on this season of Italian Survivor.
He was on Masked Singer this season as well.
He was indeed.
Doing every D-list reality show.
Italian Survivor is, I think it translates as the Isle of the Famous. They do it pretty much as live, so it's like 90 days long.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, well, when I last checked, he was definitely still in the season. Because it's a public vote for eviction as well. They do it like Big Brother.
Huh.
Mikhail and Senna both think he's lying, as does Charlotte. However, it is the truth. And as I said, Lukaku says he's never seen the show, but he does understand the concept. Senna's is the final story, and it seems that Bernard has given him the shirt by this point. He says he took a bath with Bernard's mother, Kathy, in his home. This fucking show. I watched this episode on Sunday night to be able to do the suspect list quickly. And I thought I'd misunderstood what Senna was claiming. And then we saw the tap scene, and I'm like, nope. No, he definitely did say that he had a bath with Bernard's mum.
At least they didn't share a bottle of wine or something.
A cheese board.
Yeah, charcuterie. I don't even know what to say about this scene.
This is one of the most batshit insane things they've ever done on this show. And that is a long list for this show.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When did they tell Bernard's mum about this challenge?
When Senna showed up.
Did she know, like, this challenge was going to happen when she flew out last time? Or did they tell her while she was there? Or did they wait until she got back before she's like, oh yeah, we're going to send Senna to your house in a couple of days?
I think they probably reached out to all the mothers and said, is anyone up for it? Because if Bernard had got in that car, they would not have sent him to his own home.
No.
They surveyed all the moms, which I just find to be hilarious. And Stephanie's sister.
So they must have had a backup mum in case Bernard was in that car. But that probably means that Kathy was the most up for it.
Well, I can't imagine Mikhail's mum would have done it.
No. I mean, it adds to the fun in that it's Senna who has to do this, given that Senna nearly had a date with Bernard's mum in the Mum Spaghetti Challenge.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It was him and Bernard who swapped.
Yeah, they're swapping again.
So maybe it would have been that everyone apart from Bernard had Kathy, and Bernard would have had Senna's mum. Maybe would have been the joke.
Yeah, final three next round. Bernard has a bath with Senna's mom.
Yeah.
His retribution.
So he says that he was welcomed by Bernard's wife and flew to Cologne and then drove to Mellet from there. And they weren't naked but in their swimwear, and she was waiting on the couch for him, like in all of Saunders' movies.
Jesus.
I had to get one Logan's Mucky video joke in there.
Yeah.
I like how Bernard's like, describe my hallway. What's at the end of my hallway? Did you see my dog and cat? Oh, damn it, I don't have a dog. I think he's telling the truth.
And Charlotte goes for lie, Bernard goes for truth, and Mikhail goes for lie. Inexplicably, it is true, meaning then €1,000 of 4,000 for the challenge, 3,820 of officially 13,000 for the episode, and 19,160 euros of 96,300 for the season so far.
Mikhail did terrible in this challenge.
He did. And I was thinking about the structure of this challenge. I know, obviously, I'm very much in a Mikhail tunnel now. I'm so glad he's in the final three because we get to meet him now. But the fact of the matter is, the only way for them to win money in this challenge is to outsmart the mole in the 3 rounds where the mole is also guessing. The mole knows whether it's truth or lie. And if the mole knows that the one car that they got into was the only lie one, for example, hypothetically, if they say lie every time, then the other two have to be right for them to earn any money.
It would have been funnier if Senna's was a lie and it was actually like, but the only reason why it was a lie because it was a bath with Charlotte's mom instead. He's like, ha, got you. It was actually your mom, Charlotte.
And he says that Bernard's wife asked him to give Bernard a big hug, and he says that he has a beautiful family. She also said that regardless of whether he wins the season or not, he owes her a big dinner. And Jill warns him of the upcoming test and also gives them the pictures of their respective days. Now, normally, I would obviously do the test speech, but if you cast your mind back to last week, we did make a promise that Logan was going to do it in Dutch, so take it away, Saunders.
I forgot about that.
Knew it.
Was that Fuzzy Square?
Bindles and I did say before you joined us that I'm going to do this joke, and absolutely it will be Saunders giggle, and then awkward pause, and then I'll just end up doing it in English.
Anyway, 20 plagen over die inderdaad in de Dunlaten van de Mol, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. So it's now time for the test. 20 questions about the identity and actions of the mole. Whoever knows least goes home, except for the mole who can never go home. And obviously, everyone apart from Charlotte have 2 Passfragen for this test. Charlotte is feeling uncertain. There are 6 Passfragen in play, and she has none of them. Senna says getting to the finale was more important than earning money in that challenge. Michael said the mole influenced the story, so more Passfragen than money were earned. Bernard says that Michael has lied well, and it is disturbing how good he is. Senna says that with Bernard, Michael immediately said he'd seen a match which made him doubt his suspicion. Charlotte says they performed better in the theatre than Senna and Bernard did on the streets. Senna thinks that it went all wrong in the museum. Bernard was very convincing, but he let himself get influenced. Senna followed Bernard closely. His Tom Hanks answer was all well and good, but they got the one before it wrong, so it was all for nothing. And Michael managed to lower the visor in practice, but not in the performance. It was another classic Michael moment where it all goes wrong when it actually counts for the pot. Gilles reunites them and says it's been a day that's yielded not much money but lots of Passfragen. Regardless, it's been a memorable day and the last day for one of them. Charlotte's name is the first one typed in, and it is an instant red screen, meaning, again, my prediction went home.
Huh.
And Mikhail's name is not typed for the entire duration of the season.
It is
No.
not indeed. You are correct.
It's been a while since that's been a clue.
I can't think of it happening since US 5. Because US 5, it was one of the major clues that the mole's name was never typed in.
Yeah, it was definitely a clue in one of the Australians as well, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah. And obviously, with Charlotte leaving, it does mean that the final 3 are all guys, and therefore, it's a sausage per party.
Yay!
I think Germany is the last season that didn't have a winner and runner-up be both male. Canary Islands, the last 3 in a row, the winner and runner-up have both been male.
Yeah. Step up your game, girls.
Yeah.
And she says she can't help but laugh because it was so much fun. Bernard says that she was the first face that he saw, and Michael says she was the first voice he heard. Bearing in mind he was on the other side of the boat at the time.
And in a challenge that involved talking.
Yeah. Her highlight was the paintball game. She enjoyed being part of a team, and she knows she has friends for life. Senna says she was a competitive beast, and she wanted to throw people off once, and it succeeded in the RP. And I'm also assuming that Saunders has not heard my reaction to the execution.
No, I don't think he has.
Because I was watching this on Sunday night, as I said, and I decided it would be hilariously funny, regardless of who went home, to record a voice note for Bindles of my reaction to the execution, because I was convinced that Senna was going home in this episode. The edit was just leading me to Senna going home, and I'm like, oh no, here we go. Then Charlotte's name got typed in. And it was a good 20 seconds of build-up music. They know how to string it out. And then it's a red screen. And all you hear is just me going, yes!
I believe the words were "suck it, Saunders."
Yes, it does end with suck it, Saunders, as most of my voice notes do.
That's okay. That's how most of his videos end as well.
Yeah, good point. But yeah, I did end up clipping this and putting it on the Discord because I knew it'd amuse people. But I was convinced that Senna was going. I did have the accusation from Thomas off of the suspect list yesterday that it was faked, and I'm like, no, it wasn't faked. This is just how I watch television. I jumped off the couch. I genuinely thought that I was going to have heart palpitations.
Opposite to Tom Cruise, where you jump off a couch as opposed to on a couch.
Yeah, I just set my phone aside and thought, regardless of what happens, I'm just going to react to it because I think it'll be hilarious, and then I just won't send it if it's shit. And it turned out that it wasn't shit, it was hilarious. So next time, the final 3 face their last challenges, staying in a stately home, a briefcase gets delivered, and spring is sprung before the winner is revealed, and more importantly, so is the mole. And I would be remiss if I didn't do a brief bit of finale fashion, because Bernard's suit is awesome. So, on the pool, Charlotte's departure means all Logan's hope rests solely on the shoulders of Bernard, whereas mine lie with Senna and Michael.
It's not looking good.
It is not looking good for you, Saunders.
No, we've already established you can't do a piggyback for very long.
Yeah. And, I mean, this is also the last season of just the 2 of us doing the pool, because we theorized at the start of the season that maybe we should find a way for Bindles to join the pool, and we found a way. I don't even think Saunders knows the mechanic of this. But this then leads on to the Peter Yankers gamble that I teased earlier, because the Peter Yankers gamble question, should you choose to accept it, Fuzzy, is, will Bindles join the pool next year with second or third draft? If Fuzzy is correct, then I will also offer a PT Yankers gamble next week for the reunion, which she will definitely want to do because it's going to be hilarious. The mechanic of how Bindles is going to join the pool is such. It's obviously unfair, especially when I'm going to win, if Bindles gets first draft for België next year. So, if Bindles' suspicion this week is correct, and he gets the correct mole, Mikael, then he gets second draft. Otherwise, you will have last draft next year.
And I'm sure I'll find a way to win from there too.
Oh, almost certainly. So it's going to be a 3-team pool from next season onwards for België.
Yeah. And then we're going to work out how to do a 4-team draft for Vidum.
Yeah, I don't think 4 would work, I'll be honest.
No.
2 in a team's a bit too small, I think, but
yeah,
we'll have a think.
Although it would be nice to watch Saunders losing 2 weeks.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, knocking Saunders out by week 3 would be quite delicious, actually, wouldn't it? You make a good point. On first suspicions, it is a bad week for David V, Rowan, Dan, Tim, Hector, Tino, and Alan, all of whom had Charlotte at number 1. Only one person, Albert, had her at number 9, and that pushes him into a tie with the Flemish public going into the final in first with 7 points, where the minimum is 6. On the other end of the scale are Tim and Brian on a score of 22.
Wow.
Obviously, with my team now containing the top 2 suspects, my team's ahead on 1.86 adjusted versus Logan's 2.29. 7 people stand to play a perfect game on first suspicions, with 3 hoping that Senna is the finale loser and 4 hoping Bernard is to still stand a chance. And it does mean that, assuming Mikael is not the loser, we will have a perfect game to end first suspicions, but first suspicions is won solely by picking the mole in first and not by having 1 and 2. You just get bonus kudos if you get 1 and 2.
Yeah.
2 people are still in danger of the Saunders Wooden Spoon TM finish, namely having the mole and winner in 9th and 8th, respectively. One of them needs Bernard to go to do that, and one of them needs Senna. And you can also do the final week of the Boulders Bar suspect list at suspectlist.rtbwarriors.com, or the link in our bio. It is the last week, so if you've not used your Yoka yet, it is your final opportunity. Use it or lose it, and I've used mine this week. Results will be revealed live, or as live, on next week's podcast when we record it, which will be Tuesday, unless Saunders decides that he's somewhere inconvenient.
No, I'll actually be in Nice. I'll be on Airbnb, so it'll be fine.
Must be nice.
Yeah, must be Nice, yeah.
And the final bonus question of the season, because Fuzzy complained that I didn't do it for Vidum, so you can blame her entirely, is who is the mole? And the second bonus question is, of course, how confident are you on a scale of 0 to 100?
Jesus Christ.
69.
Genuinely, Thomas has run with this joke and done a mock-up of there being a slider for the final week. It is worth searching out on Discord, Saunders. Flanders' suspicions last week were Senna on 32% plus 3, Mikael on 31 plus 3, Bernard on 19 plus 8, and Charlotte on 18 plus 7. They did a bonus round of suspicions on Monday, and I believe it closes on Wednesday, so yesterday as of this episode coming out, which is Mikael on 40% up 9, Senna on 37 up 8, and Bernard on 23 up 4. Final 2 questions of the episode as always. Who do we suspect? And this week, who is going to win?
So I just can't bring myself to piggyback off of the Mikael is the mole thing. That would just be lousy. So I'll say Senna is the mole, has my top suspect. Mikael will win, and Bernard will be the hooser.
Well, that's dumb.
But I'm conceding it'll probably be the opposite.
Yeah.
As in Mikael will be the mole and Senna will be the winner. But in this case, I'll say Senna's the mole, Mikael's the winner, and Bernard will be the hooser.
Well, Mikael is obviously the mole still. I think Bernard might win just because Senna doesn't have his book anymore. But I would prefer a Senna win.
Yeah. I agree. I would obviously, selfishly, much prefer Senna and Mikael to be the top 2, just to really rub it in at the finale of me not just getting the correct mole, but also, winning the pool with 1 and 2 again for like the 3rd time since we've done it. But I think this season has been building up to a Bernard win.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Mikael's the mole, I'm pretty sure that Senna and Bernard are both on him. Charlotte, I don't think was, which leads to the question, do you actually think that the past Froggen made any impact? I don't. I think Charlotte was on the wrong person.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think there's certainly a chance of Senna winning. I would prefer Senna to win, obviously, very selfishly, but I think probably Bernard's going to win.
Now, when you say Bernard's going to win, how confident are you?
I'm somewhere between 0 and 100, but I am only allowed the odd numbers, sadly.
Okay.
For some reason, someone's decided I'm only allowed the odd numbers and you're only allowed the even numbers, so...
Well, that's going to be really awkward if I win because I'm 100% confident and you lose because you're 90. You have to be 99% confident.
It's such a fucking stupid thread, that. Anything else you want to say?
Nope.
I actually stupidly bit on that thread on the Mol subreddit. I just couldn't resist. I'm just like, that's not how the show works. The test isn't boring if you actually produce it properly.
I will say that soccer player saying he knows what the mole is but doesn't really understand the concept somehow still makes him one step ahead of Netflix, Eureka Productions, and half of Reddit.
Yeah, good point. So, thank you for listening to our Mol België Season 12 recap. Logan and I will return on Tuesday for Diary of a Mole Finale 3. I cannot wait, I'm so excited. Before we all return on Thursday to conclude the hunt for the newest mole in Sicily. Don't forget, you can contact us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, where we are RTV Warriors, or you can email us on contact@rtvwarriors.com. Logan is on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Logsquacky. Bindles is a Green Recap at Anna Hamstone. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/RTVWarriors. Thank you to the Legion of Subtitlers. We'll see you twice next week.
Peace out and just chill till the next flavoring.
I hope he didn't pee in that bath.